Hi, I'm Kit, and I thought I'd do a little video, basically talking about everything top surgery, everything that's happened in my top surgery so far, and kind of the experiences I've had, um, just to kind of look back on in the future, and maybe I'll share it, if it would help any other people. I haven't planned what I'm going to say in this, so it's probably going to have lots of cuts in it and lots of me going, but I'm just going to do it because this is for me mainly. Um, yeah, just look back on. So I had my top surgery on the 1st of December 2021. So it's the 19th today, so I'm 19 days post-op. And leading up to my top surgery, I really wasn't that scared. um, it didn't really feel like it was happening, and then as it got closer, I was like, okay, it is actually happening, but I still wasn't nervous. I wasn't really excited either. I wanted it to be done, over and done with. um, so yeah, I went with Miles Berry, um, who works up in London. So me and my mum got the coach up to London the day before. Um, we all packed everything into one suitcase because I knew that after surgery I wasn't going to be able to drag a suitcase through, so we put it all into one. Um, yeah, and we stayed at an Airbnb quite close by. It was like 10-15 minutes like drive away from the hospital. It's the London Welbeck Hospital, so it's like centre of London. Um, the Airbnb, it was really nice. Yeah, can't really complain. So yeah, on the day of my surgery, I had to get there by 7 because I was one of the first surgeries to be done that day. So I got a Uber in the morning, and that's when I started getting nervous because I knew it was actually going to happen. Um, so yeah, I drove there, I got in, and they kind of gave me some paperwork to fill in. And one of them was what I wanted for food because I was staying there all day and then overnight and leaving the next day. So they kind of asked me what I wanted. And then they got me into the room, and there were really nice nurses there, and they basically walked me through everything. They got me to get changed into the hospital gown, and I had those, what are they called? Oh, like compression socks. Um, yeah, whatever they're called. I had to wear them. Uh, so yeah, I got changed into that. They kind of walked me through everything. They asked if I was worried about anything. Yeah, any questions that I had, they answered, which was really nice. And I saw a few nurses, but there was one nurse in particular who kept visiting me, and she was lovely. Um, but yeah, they walked me through everything. I saw Miles. He came in and checked that I was okay, and basically asked me to drop the gown just so he could mark out exactly where he was gonna do the surgery, and that was all fine. Very professional. Yeah. And then I had to wait there for a little while because Miles had someone he had to do a quick operation before mine, so I had to wait in the room. But the room was really nice, and there was a TV, and I had my phone on charge, and I was just waiting. I think in the end I went in for surgery about 9 o'clock. So yeah, it didn't seem like I was waiting too long, because there was lots of preparation beforehand, and yeah, so I was only waiting maybe like half an hour or something like that in the end. Main thing that I was worried about was the what's it called? The cannula? Is that the one? Like the needle that goes in the back of the hand for the drip. Um, but that wasn't too bad in the end. So basically, when it was my time for surgery, uh, they gave me a dressing gown and some slippers to put on, so I wasn't walking around kind of just with a gown on. Um, they walked me around, and I took the lift down to the basement floor, kind of walked through there. It just looked like, yeah, just like a hospital. And then I walked into the actual surgery room where I was going to have the surgery. I didn't realize that that's kind of what was going to happen. I don't know what I was thinking was going to happen, but yeah, I basically walked onto the table where they were going to operate. They laid me down, and they put the cannula in. Apart from they were struggling because I think obviously I hadn't eaten or drunk anything before the surgery, so yeah, I think they were struggling to find a vein. In the end, they put it in my arm. They managed to find one there. Um, so that's probably the worst bit for me because they were struggling to put it in, and I'm not very good with needles. Um, so yeah, that wasn't very fun. But once they'd done that, it was fine. I was laying down on the table, and they basically put the oxygen and to put me to sleep. So they put it on, and they said, "Okay, you're gonna fall asleep any minute." And I was like, "Okay, yeah." So I was kind of laying there, and then I felt my eyes go, and then yeah, just asleep. Um, and then waking up wasn't that great for me personally, um, because yeah, I kind of you're a bit groggy when you wake up, and I woke up, and I remember kind of being in the lift, going back up to my room, kind of being pushed on the bed into my room, but I remember throwing up during that bit because I've never had surgery before, and I didn't realize how it would affect me. And basically, the morphine, I think it was the morphine that did it, made me really sick. Um, doesn't happen to everyone, doesn't happen that often. I think it runs in the family if you get affected by it that way, and also if you get, I think travel sickness affects it, and I do get quite travel sick. And I didn't know that. Well, no one in my family really has it, apart from my mum told me that my grandma used to get really sick after the general anaesthetic. So that's probably where I got that from, which I wasn't prepared for at all. I don't know if anyone's really spoken about it, but it's something that happened to me. So yeah. So I remember them pushing me to my room, being sick, and then you kind of have to scoot from the bed you're on onto your bed. And then I went to sleep for a bit, and I was kind of in and out of sleeping and waking up and throwing up. I probably threw up like 5 times the time that I was there, which was probably the worst bit because I wasn't in any pain like at all. I just felt the compression vest that they put on you felt really tight, just like a really tight binder basically. So I felt that, and yeah, it was just the throwing up that was just awful. Um, but yeah, I kind of just slept most of the time. Eventually, I woke up enough to kind of message my mum to say everything was fine and that I was just being kept throwing up. But apart from that, I was really good. So yeah, eventually I was awake enough to kind of just chill and go on my phone and stuff like that. I was still feeling quite sick, so unfortunately I didn't really get to try any of the food that I was supposed to have there because I was supposed to have like a lunch and a dinner and a breakfast the next day. But I just felt really nauseous the whole time I was there. Um, but they kept offering me if I wanted any food and offering me drinks and stuff. And I had some apple juice. Threw that up, so that put me off apple juice quite a lot because it was horrible. Um, but yeah, everyone was really nice. Um, when I woke up, I had the drains in, but I didn't really notice them apart from when I wanted to get up to go to the toilet, so I buzzed the nurse and they helped me do it the first few times, and then eventually I did it myself. But it was quite easy. I basically had to just um, because there were like tubes coming out into the drain pots, so basically pick them up and kind of just waddle to the toilet, put them down while I used the toilet, and then basically just pick them up and put them either side of my bed when I went back into bed. So that really wasn't an issue. The worst part was probably looking at what had drained out of you, but I didn't really look because I'm I'm quite squeamish, which I'd kind of forgotten about until I had this surgery, and I was like, oh yeah, no, blood definitely grosses me out. Um, so yeah, that was all fine, and every few hours they kept checking on me um, throughout the night, so I'd be there kind of laying upright in my bed trying to sleep, and they basically just keep checking in on me, see if I need any more painkillers, which they put into the cannula, and they put some like anti-sickness stuff in there, which did help eventually because I stopped throwing up. So yeah, the next morning I woke up and I had a little bit of breakfast, as much as I could, which was like a few bites of bread and a little bit of cereal. Um, and then they took the drains out, which I was really worried about, but it actually didn't hurt at all. Um, the lady doing it was really nice, and she walked me through it all. And yeah, it was basically just, it was more of a uncomfortable feeling than actual pain, like because they have to pull it out, and there's a lot more in there than I was thinking. She was kind of pulling for a while, and I think it got caught at one point, but I wasn't, it didn't hurt. She basically just went, oh okay, and then it came out. um yeah, because most of the chest is numb after surgery, so yeah, it just felt weird. You felt like something just coming out, but it, yeah, there was no pain. And the second side was a lot easier than the first side, which was a relief. I was really glad that it was over, because I was lucky. The way that Miles does it mostly is that he basically keeps the drains in overnight, and when you go home you don't have to take the drains with you. Sorry, my dog keeps bursting into my room. But yeah, once the drains came out it was fine. And then Miles came in and he kind of gave me a run through of kind of how to look after myself for the next week. So kind of no raising my arms or anything like that, and checking that I was okay. So that was nice, and he gave me the okay to go home. So they took the cannula out of my arm, which I wasn't looking forward to because I hate anything like that. But that was also fine. She did it really quickly. And then the nurses helped. Well, I managed to get changed mostly because I just brought with me some tracksuit bottoms and a really loose shirt. That was fine. But then the nurse helped me get my coat on because I got it in my arms, but I couldn't lift it up here. So don't be afraid to ask for help, because they were really helpful, and that's just, yeah, they were really nice. And then my mum came and picked me up and took me home, and yeah, I was feeling all right. They sent me home with just some ibuprofen, paracetamol, and codeine. Um, so yeah, I got home and I was still really tired after the operation, so I slept most of the day, and then kind of got up in the evening and then went back to bed after that. And one of the things I was really worried about was sleeping on my back. Um, but for the first like week, it was really easy. Um, I kind of just piled a bunch of pillows up, and I had, oh, I've got it here. I had one of these pillows that's got like the arms, and it's, yeah, bigger on the back, um, to sleep on. And yeah, for the first week I was slept kind of really upright like this, and I had a, there it is, my neck pillow, which was really good, so I could kind of just sleep like that. And I slept surprisingly well for someone who generally doesn't sleep that well. Um, Maybe I was just exhausted, but yeah, it was fine. And yeah, I was mostly just bored because we spent the week in London in the Airbnb, just because we didn't want to drive all the way home, which is like 3 hours away. Go home and then drive all the way back in a week's time. So we just thought we'd stay in the Airbnb, and yeah, it was really nice. I was mostly just watching TV, playing on my Switch. Yeah, if you have top surgery, make sure you bring lots of stuff to entertain you. But I wasn't too bored. Yeah, so after a few days, I wanted to kind of get out a bit, so I kind of walked around outside, um, got some lunch with my mum, and that was about enough for me because you get quite exhausted. And yeah, it doesn't, I don't really feel any pain during any of it. It's mostly uncomfortable, and my binder was, it felt so tight. It was, that was probably the worst bit, just how tight it was, and it felt like it was like bruising my ribs, because it was so tight. But I don't know if I was supposed to, but I loosened it slightly at the bottom. I've got it on at the minute, actually. I can show you kind of what it looks like. Excuse my belly. But yeah, that's what it looks like. So it's, I've got an extra small, which I've never been that size in my whole life, but apparently I am with this. So it's on the tightest setting, but it was on the tightest setting all the way down, and I'm not that small down here. So I basically just loosened it a few at the bottom. I'd probably recommend like talking to your doctor or any of the nurses before you do this, but I just did it because it was really tight. Yeah. and it felt a lot better after that, luckily. So yeah, like a day after my surgery, once I was back at the Airbnb, one of the nurses phoned me to ask how I'm doing and if I have any worries or anything like that. And they gave me the date of when I need to go back in, to basically have all my dressings changed. So that was just a week's time. Um, so it was Wednesday the 1st when I had my surgery, and then it was the next Wednesday that I went in. So yeah, a week after my surgery, I had to go in to have my dressings changed. So I got an Uber in. It was about 10 o'clock, I think. I was running a bit late, but luckily they didn't mind, and I walked in and went straight up straight away. And the nurse there was absolutely lovely. Um, and she sat me on the little bed that they have, and yeah, basically undid my binder. And that was the first time I actually got to see my chest. I took a little video of it. Um, yeah, it looked so good, but also I forgot again, I forget how squeamish I am. And I was like, oh no, it looks great. But then as soon as she started taking the tape off, I felt a bit sick, and I was like, oh no. And eventually, I stopped recording when I started feeling really faint. I asked her to stop it at the end because, yeah, it was taking the tape off was fine. It kind of hurt, but I think it's mostly because it was pulling out a lot of my like chest hairs that I really probably should have shaved before the operation. They asked me to shave my armpits, but I didn't think about my chest. Um, yeah, I think getting the dressings off was probably like the most painful bit, really, and it even wasn't that bad. Um, she was just kind of she was doing it really nicely. She put water on it to kind of loosen it up a bit, and was pressing down as she did the tape, and she was doing it really gently, which I appreciated. But I'm a bit of a wimp, and so often it would hit a bit where you've got a bit of feeling, because a lot of my chest was still numb, especially around the sides. So when she was pulling it there, it wasn't that bad. Um, I think for me it was the sensation of the numbness. Like I could still feel it, but it was numb. That made me also feel quite sick. So she was doing it, and it was all fine. The scars looked great. That was no problem. But for me, the bit that really made me feel sick was seeing my nipples. They didn't look that bad at all. But after the surgery, they obviously put like a cotton bud type thing on the top, and then they tape it on. And where the binder was so tight, it like pressed it in. So my nipple was like really pushed in. It like had a big dent. My nipple was in there. And my nipple was like brown and crispy because it's obviously like starting to scab over because I had a nipple graft. So yeah, it looked like this weird crispy chocolate button in a crater in my chest, and it made me feel so sick. And you could probably see in the video if I show it, but I'm just there going, ugh, ugh. I look at it and go, yep, that's very nice. I'm not gonna look anymore. Um, but yeah, it wasn't that bruised either, which I was surprised about. They told me to take Arnica like 10 days before my surgery and 10 days after, and I think maybe that helped because it really hasn't bruised at all. But yeah, after that I had to tell her to pause it because like the room started going dark and I felt really faint. So she was really nice. She turned it off, and she asked me if I needed water, and I said yeah, and she gave me some water, and I got to lay down and until I felt a bit more normal. And then I don't know how long I was there for, like 5 minutes. And then I got up and I'm like, yeah, I feel a lot better. And she asked if I wanted to look at my chest in the mirror, and I said, yes, I do. And I thought I was filming. As I was looking in the mirror, I pressed it and I went, yeah, look at this. And then I looked back later on and I hadn't filmed anything, which was really annoying. But yeah, after looking at that, I felt a bit sick as well. So I had to sit down again, have the rest of my water, and then I felt fine. And the nurse was really lovely. And then she basically, because I had a dressing on, she took all that off, and then she put some tape over it, like two bits that meet in the middle, and then like some dressings over the nipple. But before that, I went in front of a screen and she took pictures, because Miles does like a before, straight after, and then once it's healed pictures. So she did that, and that was fine. Yeah, and then she put the dressings on, and she basically explained like what all the aftercare stuff, and she gave me a little leaflet of everything on it, which I really appreciated because I did not remember anything that she said really, because I've got an awful memory, and that's one of the reasons why I'm making this, just so I remember. Um, yeah, and she also gave me another binder because my one, I've been living in it without showering for like a week, so it was awful. So yeah, I got to change my binder, which was really nice, and she gave me enough dressings for like a week, I'd say, just over. And then I went out and bought my own ones. But yeah, um, and then after it, she basically said, because my ribs are hurting, to fold it over. So like fold this up, and then it gives your ribs a bit of a break. And I've been doing that every so often. So I'd have this up here for during the day, and then during night I'd put it back down again. And that's a good way that I found to do it, to kind of give your ribs a break. So the day after that, we went home and we went on the coach, and I couldn't really carry much. I think I was pretty much just carrying this pillow um, on the way back. My mum was dragging the suitcase, and it's really annoying because I really wanted to help her, but my arms were pretty much useless. I couldn't do any more than kind of this. There was no range of movement. And if I tried to pull anything heavy, I know I'd just end up hurting myself. Um, but yeah, so my mum was really great during everything. She really helped me out, helped me grab stuff from like the top shelf that I couldn't reach, and helped me like put my clothes back on, and helped me kind of get to my armpits to wash them and that kind of thing, which I really appreciated. I definitely recommend having someone there to help you, because there's so much stuff that you take for granted that you can't do afterwards. Just like um, rinsing my mouth out after I brush my teeth, because you can't really, I couldn't get under really, so I had to get a glass and kind of drink from that, and just stuff you don't really think about. Just grabbing my food from the top shelf in the fridge, I just couldn't do. Um, yeah, so it's always great to have someone there to help you out if you need it. Going home was really nice after having the surgery and after being in an Airbnb for like a week, because it's just so nice to be home, and I had more stuff that I could do here. Um, yeah, it was just really nice to be back and see my animals and everything. Um, Sleeping for some reason has been a bit more difficult in the second week. Um, I've still slept fine. It's just I wake up because my back hurts a lot. I'm probably not in the best sleeping position. I'm sleeping more on my back, like flat mostly, instead of sitting upright. So maybe that's where I've been going wrong. But yeah, the way my bed is, it's got a window behind it, so I have nothing to prop myself up on. So I have to kind of lay on my back, and yeah, I think sleeping on your back all night, it kind of just, yeah, it just kills it. And I haven't really been doing much. I've been going out a little bit, kind of getting a bit of exercise where I can, but kind of sitting still and then just going to bed. I haven't really moved it much, so yeah, my back is kind of killing. Um, and as for like changing my dressings and stuff, for the first few days, I got my mum to do it just because I still felt sick looking at my chest, and it wasn't that it was disgusting and I hated it or anything like that. It's just purely because I'm squeamish when it comes to anything remotely gross. And it's still very much in the gross stage. And the numb feeling, it's the numb feeling that really made me feel sick, because my actual chest doesn't look too bad. My nipples are a bit gross. Um, but yeah, it's the feeling of kind of someone touching it or pulling the tape off, but and you can feel it, but not really. It was that feeling that made me feel sick. And a friend of mine also said it. He also felt the same way. Like that weird numb feeling is just gross. Um, so yeah, I got her to help me with my chest for a while, and I went in the shower a couple of days after I got home. Maybe like maybe the day after I got home, um, and I went in with my full dressings on. They said you could take the nipple dressings off and like run them up over the water. I didn't the first time, just because I really wanted to take it easy, and I put it on a lower temperature than I normally do, um, just so I didn't, yeah, I really just didn't want to feel sick or pass out in the shower. So yeah, I took it really easy, kind of just did my armpits, um, washed a bit of the pen off my chest and stuff like that, and yeah, it went a lot better than I expected it to, because I expected to feel really sick and not be able to do anything. But yeah, I had a good wash in there. Um, I got my mum to change the tape afterwards, and that was fine. And then eventually in the shower, I managed to wash my hair, and I'd go in there, get the dressings a bit wet, and then take them off because it's easier that way, and kind of rinse my nipples and obviously not touch them or anything, but kind of let the water run over them. Um, yeah, which is great. And then eventually I managed to do my own dressings, um, which I was quite proud of. I think it may even be a little bit easier because I know what I'm doing, and if it feels gross, I know it's me that's doing it. Um, at the moment, I'm still quite numb this side, so when I'm taking off the dressing, it kind of hurts just because it's pulling my hair off around here. But then as soon as I get to this side, I can just pull it off because I still don't feel much over here. But I've got feeling back kind of all along here, but just not at the sides, really. But recently my nipple scab has started to come off, and it's so gross. I think where I got it wet and then put a plaster on it, I think it came away maybe a bit too early. I haven't been picking at it or pulling it or anything, but basically when I took the plaster off, it pulled a bit with it. And that made me feel really sick. It looked horrible. And then I obviously put a new dressing over it, and then I pulled it away again, and obviously where it was wet and then healed on there, it's kind of pulled a bit more away, and it's really pink and a bit red in there, and yeah, it does not look good. Um, but I'm going to keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't get infected or anything like that. It's because there are a few bits in there, it's like yellowy and like dark colour, and it doesn't look normal to me. But I showed it to my mum, who was a nurse and a midwife, and she said it looks all right so far, but we'll keep an eye on it. Um, but yeah, if there's anything that you think, oh, maybe this doesn't look right, I'd say go to your GP or talk to one of the nurses or the doctors who've done the surgery, so they can kind of tell you if it looks like it's healing normally. Um, yeah, but overall the surgery was fine. If I didn't feel sick because of the morphine, it would have been easy. Like the worst part was literally the how tight the binder felt, but it probably wasn't the binder. It was probably my chest feeling tighter as well, because there's obviously had to remove stuff and stitch it back up again. Um, yeah, but the rest of it was really quite easy, which I was really happy about. And the other worst bit was just how squeamish I am and how easily faint I feel, which I didn't realize. But yeah, I guess just be prepared to feel a bit gross looking at it, because it's gross, but I love how my chest looks. It's just the healing process is just a bit ugh, for me. Um, but yeah, and I had quite a large chest. It was back when I used to wear a bra. I was about a 34 double D, but after years of wearing a binder and testosterone, they kind of went. So they were really, really ugly, and I hated them so much. But Miles Berry said he took off just over a kilo of weight from my chest. He said it was like 600 grams in one and like 500 on the other, or something like that, which is crazy. It's one way to lose weight. But yeah, it's so wild, and I'm so glad it's done, and I just can't wait for it to be all healed up, so I can really appreciate it. Because for the first like week ish, it felt like I hadn't actually had the surgery done, because I'm wearing a binder. It felt like they were still there, and that weird kind of phantom limb feeling, I guess. Because yeah, it felt like they were there, just being compressed by the binder. But when they actually took it off and showed me it, that's when it really hit me that it had actually happened, and it was, yeah, so cool. Each day I look at it, and as it gets more and more healed, the more happy I am with it, and the more, because I just sit there and look at it and think, oh my god, it's gone. Like this shirt is a small, and there's like nothing there at all. Yeah, I'm so happy with it, and I thought I'd make this video just to look back on, and maybe I'll share it if it would help anyone else. But yeah, I know the experience is, it's different for everyone, and not everyone sees their chest and goes, oh wow, I love it so much, and feel fine, because I saw my chest and I did love it, but the first thing I felt was sick. Just because I'm not good with any wounds or anything like that. Because I was happy, but you've also got to be prepared that you have had an operation, and that sometimes it looks a little bit gross than you expect, but it's still good. Like, I still loved it, but yeah, you've got to be prepared for the grossness along with the happiness that you feel afterwards. For me, it was more of a delayed happiness. The more I heal, the more it kind of hits me, and I'm like, wow, yes, this has actually happened. Whereas at first, it was more, oh, okay, oh, why does it look like that? Oh, why is it bleeding a little bit? And yeah, but I'm really happy that it's been done. I want to show you my cat who's just down here. Look at him.